Welcome to the Guitarzwailn learning system. No, we're not going to be that strict. I just wanted to lay out a few things right from the beginning. If you feel you want to follow along, these lessons will be directed at an intermediate to advanced and then hopefully beyond advanced, more like a professional level. But for now, it's just going to be intermediate to advanced. And I just don't have time to start all over. There's plenty of other channels on the internet that can teach you more fundamental things. Alright, so I'm going to start out with some of the subjects will be picking, hybrid, and alternate. Those are the two main ones that I use. Might get into a little bit of finger picking sometime, but more than likely not. And it won't be shredding picking. I'm not into shredding whatsoever. I'm into getting to be more fluid and add some speed, have a couple of riffs here and there where you kind of, show off a little bit. But it won't be about see how fast we can go and look at me, aren't I cool? Alright, so then the next thing is composition and arrangement. There's everything has to be composed. If you're making music, there should be some kind of storyline. And how do you arrange it? Rather than do you just throw stuff together, play it by ear and go, hey, that's cool? Or do you actually use some type of method behind it? We'll explore both ways of doing it. Okay, so the next one is rhythm with subdivisions, note duration, time, feel. So how do you play in the groove and stuff like that? Odd time signatures. I like odd time. So we'll work on that. And then rhythmic displacement, which can be a lot of times when you hear rhythmic displacement, you might even think that you're playing in an odd time signature when you're not. You're just displacing the note durations and the where the one is in the count. We'll go through that. It can be kind of a complex thing if you don't understand how to count. And I'm not really that good at it, but we'll fumble through it as it goes on. Okay, so then we'll work on some music theory. I'm not an educated person when it comes to music or any other education. But I have done some theory in the last 3 years. I got a Frank and Bali course called Peace and Harmony that I've gone through several times, and all the other stuff that there is available out there on the web. And we'll go through that. We won't, explain everything theory-wise, but I'm trying to get a little bit of a grasp on it. So we'll work on a little bit of theory that way too. And then the last one, my 3 pillars of musical thought process. My main 3 pillars are the note choices that you get. Why do you choose a certain note over another note? The next one is what rhythmic pattern do you play those notes in? What is the subdivision, the duration, that type of thing. And then the fourth one is how do you express those notes? Like, what are the dynamics? There's lots of other terms people use for that type of thing. How do you express those notes being played? To me, that's the 3 main things when I'm thinking of music and how I'm going to express myself musically. That's where my thought process comes from, is the notes you choose, whether they're in chords or just single notes. What is the rhythmic pattern you're going to play it in? And then how you express those notes. Okay, so there's a little idea on somewhat. So, there is going to hopefully be some direction. It's not going to be me just scattering, running around. That's what I'm trying to get away from. Just a little bit of history about me musically is I've been playing since I was 12 years old. I took a few lessons in junior high, but they wanted me to play Three Blind Mice and that stupid stuff, and I didn't want to do it. I had an old Silvertone acoustic guitar with the strings about a quarter of an inch up off the fretboard, and they were really thick, heavy strings. I never did change the strings. I sold the thing about a year ago, and it still had the original strings on it, as far as I understand. So anyway, I just kind of diddle around at home, and then in my late teens, early 20s, I was in the Air Force, traveled all over the world, started getting into music because I had some spare time on my hand. I was most of the time stuck out in the middle of nowhere, so I started picking up, bought an electric guitar, got a Marshall amp, and I played a lot of Rush. I really like Rush. I really like their more complex stuff, not so much their radio. You don't hardly ever hear the songs that I played on the radio. Every now and then, but not very often. And I ran into two other guys, a bass player and a drummer, so we had a little trio, and we enjoyed playing Rush. So anyway, then I got out of the Air Force, moved back to my hometown. Always plans of leaving someday. And just piddled around, did a little Stevie Ray Vaughan. Then I did some Cliffs of Dover. And, I learned a few things that were kind of complex. Got married, didn't play a whole lot. There was times where I might not pick up a guitar for a year or two. So then we got divorced, and I started getting back on the horse again. Because I sold everything over time, and I bought another guitar and a Mesa Boogie, and things were cool for a while, learned some songs, and then I just got tired of playing other people's music. So probably the last 15 years, I went out on my own, and I basically played just power chord stuff. Moving them around. I had a keyboard that had a drum machine on it, so I would put that down. Then I eventually bought a recorder so I could record the backing tracks and then play over the top of it. And that's cool for doing your own thing, because I'm always been a creative person, doing artsy type stuff. I've been a woodworker for 50 something years, carpenter of all levels, and I'm just a regular guy with a regular job. I don't make a lot of money, but the last few years I got tired of that and decided, okay, I'm going to learn some theory. My ex-wife was a master's degree in music education and was going to go professionally on the piano, but that kind of got to her. It was pretty hard to compete and a lot of stress. So anyway, she tried to teach me stuff years ago, and I don't catch on very quickly. So I've been working regularly on trying to learn some theory, and bought a lot of courses on all kinds of different stuff, and subscribed here and there, and just try to get better with some technique and whatever else. And so I'm about, depending on where you're at, I'm at intermediate to advanced intermediate. In some areas I'm advanced, some areas I'm not even quite intermediate. So that's what the whole thing here is. I'm trying to work on trying to get better, trying to learn some new things so I can express myself. I'm not looking at theory as is going to be a savior for me. Same way with technique. I'm not looking at it as if that's going to make me this great guitar player. My main thing is I'm a melodic player. I love music. I play guitar as a hobby, and I'd like to get better. That's the main premise of my guitar life. So I've thought I would try this YouTube thing to help keep me motivated and invite others to come along if they want to too. So as the first one said, I'm just an old dog trying to learn some new tricks so I can be more creative and express myself. And right now, I'm pretty much done with doing the rock thing, the power chord thing. I don't mind doing a few power chords here and there, but I'm trying to move on. My thing is modern fusion music, which mixes all different genres of music together. It has some of it's really strange sounding if you're not used to having a lot of tension in your notes. We'll go through that too in the course, or what I'm doing. And I've got, like I said, a lot of material that I've bought. I've bought lots of money and time and effort. I've done stuff with professional level guitarists, some that are really notable that you would probably recognize right off the top of your head. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. But a lot of this stuff was very expensive, and I didn't learn that much because I'm not a quick learner and I can't just pick up stuff off the top of my head. So I'm tired of that. I'm going to move on. I've got some other options coming up, plus the material I've got that I'm going to share. I'm not sure how much I can actually share because of copyrights, but I'll try and do my best. Some of it may be just handwritten down on a whiteboard, and some of it, if I can, I'll use some of the material or try to transcribe it onto um, Guitar Pro 8. I got that. So, but that gets to be kind of long because I'm not a very proficient person of transcribing thing or writing everything out. So that can be kind of an ordeal there, especially when you're working with time signatures. But like I said, if you want to come along and try and see what you can do, see if you want to improve yourself. If you're an old dog like me looking for some new tricks, that's cool. I invite you all to come along. So, we'll go through, we'll do the first lesson, and then we'll carry on. Okay, so here is part of lesson number 1. One of the first lessons is I'm 63, done a lot of hard work in my life. I still work hard on a daily basis. And I come home and my hands are tired because I've been working my hands and my body all day long. So one of the things I struggle with personally is my hands are stiff. So what do I do to loosen myself up so I can feel like I can play for a little while and do some hand stretches? So some of the things are just very basic things, like don't try and force your body to do this, or your hands, fingers, whatever, but it is one way of loosening things up. So the first thing I like to do is, if I live in Iowa, small town, it gets cold in the wintertime, I'll take out a heating pad and put my hands and arm on there. I've got a nice big one. I can wrap my hands up and my arms at the same time and sit there and let them warm up. Then the next thing I'll do is I will grab my massager here and turn it on and rub it up and down, work my fingers, forearms, hands on both sides, that type of thing. And I might do that, 2 or 3 times. I'll play a little bit, still feel a little stiff, do it again. There's some other things you can do, like pull back on your fingers like this, holding your hand up like that and pulling back. Once again, just don't go crazy. Pulling them down like this, and make sure you straighten your arm out on both sides. Okay, then you can do the one finger at a time thing if you feel you want to get a little more stretch. Some people get involved in stretching their fingers this way, spreading them apart like that. Some people even buy like balls or something to stick in there and do that. When I'm at work, some days I'll do hand stretches throughout the day if I'm really doing something intense. So that's, part of the whole thing. Some people don't have problems with that. They can stretch their fingers around and have no problem with it. But I personally have a little bit of problem with it. Sure, you could always go down the ibuprofen road or Tylenol, whatever you do that way too, to help with minor pain. I don't know what it does for stiffness. I personally don't use that very often. Every now and then I'll use it, but there's all kinds of stuff. Just don't push yourself too hard. The other thing is just put your fingers on the fretboard and stretch it out. You know, there's all kinds of different exercises you can do just by doing stuff like this. We can go over some of it when I got the guitar out. And so that's part of just getting better, more stretched out so you can be more fluid. Like I said, my thing is not trying to be a shredder flying up and down to be cool, but to be more fluid on the guitar so I can play in any direction that I want at any time and sound musical at the same time.